Hi. A big area of concern for landlords is what a lease agreement should you be using from the 1st of May to stay compliant and avoid those big fines and penalties. Well, from the 1st of May, the only lease agreement you can use for new tenancies will be the Assured Periodic Tenancy. And all existing ASTs will become Assured Periodic Tenancies, or APTs for short. The tenancy agreement will continue though, and the old AST will be treated as one single ongoing tenancy, but the fixed term will end and the tenancy will become periodic. You don't need to reissue documents like the gas safety certificate or re-protect the deposit. And if you already have an AST in writing, you won't need to do anything other than serve what's called the government's information sheet, which we discussed in a previous video. But the big change is what we do for new tenancies which are signed on or after the 1st of May. Landlords will need to give tenants what's called a written statement of terms before they sign the tenancy agreement. And if you don't do this, you can receive a civil penalty of up to £7,000. The simplest way to serve the written statement of terms is to include it in your new tenancy agreement. So what exactly is this written statement of terms? Well, the government has published a statutory instrument that sets out the terms and information that landlords must provide tenants from the 1st of May. The compulsory information it must include is under the following headings. Firstly, the parties in the property. Here we'll have the full names of all landlords and tenants, the property address, and an address in England or Wales for notices to be served. Next up is the possession date. This is the date the tenant is first entitled to move into the property. Next up, rent details. The rent amount and the due dates. Rental periods cannot exceed 1 month, and rents cannot be contractually payable in advance, although a tenant can voluntarily pay in advance as long as it's after the parties have entered into the agreement with no suggestion or pressure from the landlord. Next up, rent increases. Here, there will be a statement that rent can only be increased once per year via a valid Section 13 notice. Next up, bills and deposits. Here, there's details of any bills included in the rent, and you must give full details if the tenant needs to pay the landlord for bills other than rent. And also it lists the total security deposit amount. Next up, ending the tenancy. Here it confirms the minimum notice period that the tenant must give to serve a notice to quit, to terminate the tenancy. And this will normally be 2 months, and it cannot be for more than 2 months. This notice will need to be in writing, and it needs to expire at the end of a rent period. Next up, landlord notice. Here, there's a statement that the landlord can normally only end the tenancy by obtaining an order for possession from the court for the property and execution of that order after having first served a notice under Section 8 of the Housing Act, relying on one of the valid grounds for possession. Next up, statutory obligations. In this section, we summarise the landlord's duties regarding fitness for human habitation. You need to include specific clauses saying the landlord is obliged to ensure the property is fit for human habitation, and that the landlord must keep the property in good repair under Section 11 of the Landlord and Tenant Act. This places an obligation on the landlord to maintain the structure and exterior of the property, including installations for the supply of water, gas, electricity, heating systems, drainage, and also sanitary appliances. And finally, there's a clause dealing with special rights. There are 2 rights that tenants have that need to be mentioned in the written statement of terms. The first is the right to keep a pet, and the second is about their rights under Section 190 of the Equality Act 2010, which allows them to apply to make improvements to the property for a disabled person. If you don't have all of these clauses in the statement of terms or in your tenancy agreement, you can receive a civil penalty of up to £7,000. So please take heed. So that's what you must include, but also, and maybe more importantly, here is what you must not include in your new APTs entered into from the 1st of May. Well, from the 1st of May, landlords must not purport to let for a fixed term. So an example of this would be if you enter into a new agreement using one of your old ASTs, or a lease you got from a mate down the pub, or even ChatGPT, which includes a fixed term. Because if it includes a fixed term in it, which, let's face it, all historic ASTs invariably did, then you will be in breach of your duty not to let for a fixed term, and the landlord can receive a civil penalty of up to £7,000. Also, don't include the right for the landlord to terminate with 2 months' notice. Again, these are in historic ASTs, and if you try to enforce it by serving a notice to quit on a tenant, then that's a breach, which again is going to attract a £7,000 penalty. And look, there are lots of other clauses that you shouldn't put into your APTs from the 1st of May, although most of them are just unenforceable rather than attracting penalties, such as if you have an historic rent review clause, or if you have a clause which stipulates no pets. So look, the Renters' Rights Act is complicated. There are lots of pitfalls. There are significant changes with basic fines for non-compliance starting at £4,000, rising quickly to £7,000, as outlined above. Not to mention rent repayment orders, which now extend to 2 years. And let's face it, that could amount to £35,000 or even more for your basic 2-bed or 3-bed house. If you are a self-managing landlord or you're unhappy with your current managing agent and you're concerned about complying with the new legislation and want to avoid those massive fines, why don't you book a call with me to discuss how we can protect you and your property investment and keep you compliant. I look forward to chatting with you soon. Many thanks.